If there's one thing you can rely on from Netflix's Marvel shows, it's that someone's gonna get their ass beaten to a bloody pulp inside of a hallway. And based on what we learned about Marvel's Iron Fist at New York Comic-Con, that show will uphold this proud tradition when we meet the fourth and final Defender in March 2017. But more so than many of the other Marvel characters getting their own Netflix series, people have been asking me, who is Iron Fist? Why should they care? Does he really have a gigantic chest tattoo? Yes, he does. Well, you're in luck, because on today's episode of The Dan Cave, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about Iron Fist. On its surface, Iron Fist may seem like yet another story about an incredibly strong person trying to hack out a living in New York City. I know, right? This again? The street-level hero, though, is a master of nearly every type of martial arts, and though mortal, can push his body past its limits by focusing his chi, or natural energy, to give himself enhanced reflexes, strength, speed, stamina, and agility. He can also use his energy to heal himself at accelerated rates, and presumably just by clenching everything all at once, like, "Oh, please get better!" Furthermore, he can supercharge his body by focusing all of his energy into his hand, creating a mystical glowing fist that can generate incredible power. And as you may have guessed, that's why they call him Iron Fist. But for the sake of covering all our bases, let's explain how and why this happened. Created in 1974 by Roy Thomas and Gil Kane, Iron Fist made his debut in Marvel Premiere number 15 as a direct response to the kung fu movie craze of the day. And after all, as Carl Douglas assured us in song form, literally everyone was kung fu fighting. Everyone. In fact, Roy Thomas revealed in an interview that the first kung fu movie he saw had something called, quote, the ceremony of the Iron Fist in it. Cool, ceremony. They then grafted these kung fu influences, or kungfluences as I like to call them, onto an old Bill Everett character from the 1940s called Amazing Man, and thus Iron Fist was born. The classic origin's one of tragic mountain climbing accidents, billionaires, and betrayals most foul. Young Danny Rand, aged 9, accompanied his father, the wealthy businessman Wendell Rand, his mother Heather Rand, and his father's business partner Harold Meacham on an expedition to the Himalayas to find the mystical city of Kunlun. Or Kunlun. Kunlun, I think. Kunlun. I don't know. This is a real dilemma. Kunlun. I'm the best. Of course, and this is why I never go hiking, the trip took a turn for the deadly when Wendell slipped and fell off the path. Dangling by a rope, Meacham was his only chance of survival, which he took as the perfect time to complete his transformation into both Mr. Steal Yo Business and Mr. Steal Yo Girl by forcing Wendell to fall to his death and confessing his love to Heather. Wow, dick move. Thankfully, Heather rejected the sleazy offer, and Meacham left her and her son to die, which is exactly what Heather did when a pack of hungry wolves attacked. She sacrificed herself to save her son. Jesus, and you thought this was gonna have a happy ending. Alone and so very, very cold, Danny was actually rescued by archers from Kunlun who took him back to the mystical city. So all in all, this is just like the worst family vacation ever. You might think you've had a worse one, but I guarantee that you didn't, unless your mom was torn apart by wolves and your dad's best friend let him die. Now, normally a group of soldiers absconding with a child to a hidden city should be a real cause for concern. But the archers of Kunlun took the newly minted orphan to UT, the hooded ruler of the city, who then enrolled Danny as an apprentice in Lei Kung the Thunderer's ass-kicking academy for people who want to kick ass. That's not what it's actually called, but that's basically the curriculum. He didn't have to write persuasive essays so much as he had to, fist buckets of sand and gravel to make his hands stronger. Yeah, and you thought your school sucked. By age 19, Rand had become one of Lei Kung's most gifted students and actually earned an opportunity to earn the power of the Iron Fist by fighting and defeating the immortal dragon known as Shou Lao the Undying. Danny defeated this mystical creature by pressing his chest to the dragon, cutting the dragon off from its heart, which lay in a magical flaming brazier across the room. The encounter left Danny with the worst thing a 19-year-old can get, a massive chest tattoo of a dragon. Continuing the string of poor decision-making, Danny plunged his hand into the red-hot brazier and absorbed the power of the Iron Fist. You know, that old chestnut. That old, hey, what's in that bucket? Is that a bucket full of molten dragon hearts with mystical power? Oh, cool, let's do it, chestnut. Rather than remaining in Kunlun as an immortal karate god, Danny gave up eternal life to return to New York City and avenge his parents. You know, wait, I already did that, sorry. Back in New York, Danny sought revenge on Harold Meacham, who had actually been preparing for Rand's return for the past decade. Meacham welcomed Danny back by placing a massive bounty on his head, which led to goons like Scythe trying to murder him. Yikes. Eventually, though, Danny tracked down Meacham and found that he was a broken man, a cripple who'd lost both his legs to frostbite because he got lost in the mountains shortly after betraying everyone that he knew and loved. And rather than murder the poor miserable bastard, which is what Meacham really wanted, Danny chose to let him live. What a mature 19-year-old, huh? Of course, like anything in the Marvel Universe, this would come back to bite Danny in the ass, because when Meacham actually was murdered, Danny got blamed for it, but he eventually cleared his name with the help of two tough-as-nails PIs, the cyborg ex-cop Misty Knight and the samurai Colleen Wing. And those weren't the only people Iron Fist teamed up with either. Over the years, he fought alongside other martial artist heroes like the Sons of the Tiger, and most famously had a partnership with Luke Cage as the Heroes for Hire, which is exactly what it sounds like. You need a hero, you hire them. It's like Postmates for Justice. Later, Rand also fought alongside the Avengers and even took over the mantle of Daredevil for a while Matt Murdock was sorting out his life in prison. Classic Matt, right? He's always getting up to crazy blind people stuff. I mean, blind people be crazy. So what can you expect from the TV show? Well, for starters, it's going to be way less gritty than Jessica Jones or Luke Cage was. According to showrunner Scott Buck, Iron Fist is a, quote, billionaire New York Buddhist monk martial arts superhero, end quote, which sounds like it'll make for a lot less doom and gloom than the other Netflix shows. But that doesn't mean there's going to be any less ass-kicking. We already know there's going to be a hallway fight, there's going to be Colleen Wing, there's going to be plenty of cool-looking jumping punches. But most of all, I'd expect a straight-up adaptation of Iron Fist's origin story with a few twists and turns thrown in there that may or may not lay the groundwork for the Defenders to boot. And that, my friends, is Iron Fist in a nutshell. But tell me, what are your favorite Iron Fist stories? What do you hope to see from the series? Let me know in the comments below and give me an ironclad thumbs up while you're there. Be sure to like and subscribe or else you might miss next week's show when we talk about the story of an outspoken young woman in the English countryside who meets a dreadlocked, camouflaged alien murder machine that also happens to be the man of her dreams in Pride and Predator. Until next time, keep on digging. Let's open up the old mailbag, shall we? At GreensCar27 asks, what's your favorite Godzilla era? Showa, Heisei, or Millennium? Well, I gotta give it up for the classics, the Showa era, because that really kickstarted the kaiju genre and gave us classic films with important social commentary. It also gave us Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, which is just straight up nuts. At Koai Noor asks, can you suggest the best balls-to-the-wall, bonkers AF Japanese horror flick for Halloween night viewing? Great question. Well, I'm inclined to go with a classic like Hausu, because that movie is, in fact, bonkers AF. However, if you want to be creeped out and uncomfortable, just pop on Takashi Miike's Audition, then cower under a blanket for the rest of the night. At Boss Orlana asks, what's the best album you've listened to this year? Now this is a very hard question. It's still too early to say for sure, but I've really been digging Blonde by Frank Ocean, Telephone by No Name, and this killer compilation of Joe Hisaishi's Studio Ghibli music on Spotify. But tell me, what's your favorite album of the year so far? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time!